Rylan Voss had been burned before, just never by dragon fire. He was the kind of human who got promoted only because demoting him meant paperwork. Stubborn, scarred, and too quick to throw himself into danger, he walked patrols like someone who forgot fear existed. Most days, he wished fear would at least send a postcard. The treaty lands were supposed to be safe. Shared territory, diplomats called it. But when a human and a dragon shared space, something usually caught fire. Today it wasn't a building. It was a child. Rylan heard the crying first, sharp, metallic, like someone ringing a bell dipped in lava. He scanned the ridge and froze. A tiny dragon hatchling huddled in the dust, wings trembling, eyes glowing gold with panic. She couldn't have been more than 5 cycles old, barely old enough to spit a spark, let alone defend herself. "Hey, kid," he whispered, raising his hands slowly. "You lost." She squeaked and backed up, molten tears dripping onto her claws. Her scales shimmered like heated glass. A baby. Alone. In a war-torn valley. Before he could take another step, shadows moved. Raiders. Not human. Not dragon. Scavenger mercenaries who didn't care which species they angered as long as the pay was right. Plasma cannons clicked into place, humming with lethal charge. 12 barrels all pivoted toward the tiny dragon girl. Rylan didn't have time to think. He didn't need to. His body moved before the thought finished forming. He sprinted, boots pounding the cracked ground, armor plates rattling. The hatchling squealed as he dove, scooping her up and turning his back to the cannons. 12 blasts, one raider laughed. "He'll evaporate." The valley lit white. The first shot hit like a meteor. Rylan felt armor shatter, flesh tear, nerves scream. The second tore the breath from his chest. By the third, he couldn't hear anything, not even his own scream. By the 7th, his vision dimmed. By the 12th, he was sure he was dead. But humans are strange creatures. They cling to life out of spite more than biology. The hatchling trembled under him, clutching his vest with tiny claws. Even through the fading haze, he felt her shaking. "It's okay," he tried to whisper, though blood filled his mouth. "You're okay." His heart stuttered. The world darkened. Everything inside him felt wrong. Burning. Expanding. Like fire was learning his name. He collapsed fully, face hitting dirt. He expected the end. Silence. Nothingness. Instead, he felt heat, different heat, surround him. Giant hands? No. Claws. Voices. Deep, rumbling, ancient voices speaking in alarmed tones. He took all 12. No human survives one. The child lives. She clings to him still. Bring him. The matriarch must see this. He couldn't open his eyes, but he felt movement, being lifted. Scaled arms carrying him. The hatchling refusing to release her grip on his chest. The world blurred into darkness, but through it all, a strange new fire flickered in his veins, pulsing like a second heartbeat. Then everything stopped. His body gave out. His own heartbeat went silent. For a moment, there was nothing. Then, without warning, a spark ignited deep inside him. Heat flared in his chest, racing through his limbs, crawling up his spine. It wasn't human pain. It was dragon fire, alive, intentional, pushing him back from the edge. His chest rose on its own. A shocked gasp from somewhere nearby echoed faintly. Impossible, he reignites. He drifted again, floating between worlds, held together by fire that wasn't his. A warmth curled around him, soothing, steady. A presence. Not the hatchling. Someone larger. Stronger. Older. A flame he didn't understand. When he finally clawed his way back to consciousness, it was to the soft glow of molten-lit stone above him. His body felt heavy, wrapped in warmth. His skin tingled as if embers kissed every nerve. Something was pressed against his side. Something big. He turned his head, slowly, painfully, and saw her. A dragon woman. Not scaled like a beast, but shaped like a warrior carved from obsidian and flame. Powerful limbs. Sharp features. Scales tracing her temples and shoulders like armor grown from her skin. Her chest rose and fell in slow, steady breaths, radiating heat so intense it felt like lying beside a bonfire. She was asleep beside him. Literally pressed against him, her arm draped across his torso as if guarding him from the world. His brain struggled to reboot. This was not a human hospital. This was definitely not standard medical protocol. He tried to sit up. Pain shot through him, but the movement stirred the woman. Her eyes opened, amber, slit-pupilled, ancient and intelligent. They locked onto his. "You live," she said softly, voice deep enough to vibrate through his ribs. "Good. I was prepared to fight death itself for you." He blinked, confused. Why are you in my bed?" "This is my bed," she corrected. "You are the one in it." "That does not answer anything." Her gaze didn't waver. Healing by fire aura requires proximity. Contact stabilizes the soul. And you are the savior of my hatchling. You carry her fire on your skin. Instinct demanded I remain beside you. "Savior," he whispered. The memory of the child's trembling body flashed through him. "She is mine," the woman said. "My blood. My heir." He swallowed hard. "And who exactly are you?" She leaned slightly closer, unbothered by his racing heartbeat. "I am Kylara, Fireblood Matriarch of the 7th Brood." His pulse jumped. He had heard that title. Dragons spoke it with reverence and fear. He opened his mouth, but she spoke first. "You saved my daughter," she said. "Therefore, you are bound to me by fire law. You lived when no human should. And now the Council demands you answer for that survival." Rylan frowned. "Answer? For staying alive?" Her expression hardened. "They will decide if you are a miracle or a threat that must be eliminated." The warmth around him suddenly felt colder. Kylara lowered her voice. "Do not fear. I will not let them harm what is mine." Her hand tightened gently around him, protective, possessive, and dangerously sincere. Rylan realized something important then. He hadn't just survived 12 blasts. He had survived into a new world, one with its own laws, instincts, and consequences. And he had no idea what he'd just been claimed by. Rylan woke again to the same slow, volcanic warmth pulsing through his bones. His body no longer felt like shattered metal and scorched nerves. It felt repaired. Not fully, but stitched together with something stronger than anything human medicine offered. Dragon fire lingered beneath his skin like a second bloodstream. Kylara was still beside him. Not asleep this time. Watching him. Her golden, slit-pupilled eyes tracked his breath as though measuring every inhale. He shifted slightly, and the muscles along her arms tightened, scaled patterns shimmering like living armor. "You recover quickly," she said. "Your body adapts to fire aura faster than expected." He swallowed. "That's not normal." "No," she replied. "It is not." He finally looked around the chamber properly. The walls glowed with embedded fire crystals. Heat shimmered in the air. What he'd assumed was a blanket was actually dragonweave silk warmed from within. Everything felt alive, like the whole room breathed with her. "Why am I still here?" he asked quietly. "Why are you still here?" She tilted her head slightly, studying him with a seriousness that cut straight to the bone. "Because you are bound." "Bound?" His voice cracked. "To what? To who? And please, tell me it's not what it sounds like." Kylara didn't laugh. Dragons didn't laugh at things that mattered. "The hatchling you protected is my daughter. My sole heir. Saving her activates fire instinct within her guardian. It demands proximity between savior and protector until the flames stabilize." He ran a hand down his face. "So I'm stuck because dragon biology says so?" "Yes," she answered simply. "And because I choose it." That second part hit him harder than expected. "Your people," she continued, "rarely interfere in dragon conflicts. Yet when others fled, you threw your body between a child and 12 death blasts." "I didn't think," he said. "Just acted." "That," she replied, "is why dragons fear humans. You act on impulse. Our instincts require rituals, structure, logic. Humans leap. And the universe bends around your leaps. He wasn't sure if that was an insult or a compliment. Before he could decide, footsteps echoed outside the chamber. A murmuring chorus followed, deep, guttural dragon voices full of tension. Kylara rose instantly, towering over the bed in one fluid motion. Her height alone would intimidate most soldiers, her posture could silence a battalion. "The council approaches," she said, her voice sharpening. "They want to see the human who survived the Fire 12. "That's a dramatic name," he muttered. "It will become a legend," she replied, "if you live long enough." The chamber doors rumbled open. 3 dragon elders entered, scaled, ancient, and radiating authority. Their gazes locked on Rylan with a mixture of disbelief and suspicion. "Human," the first elder said, "explain your survival." Rylan shrugged weakly. "Honestly? Wish I knew." Kylara stepped forward before they could question further, her tone shifting into something colder, fiercer. "He carries my daughter's fire. You see it in his aura. You feel it." The hatchling clung to him as she cried for help. "Instinct bound them, and through her, bound me." The second elder circled Rylan slowly, sniffing the air. "His body should have turned to ash." "It almost did," Rylan muttered. The elder ignored him. Instead, he absorbed the blast energy. "We sense traces of Fireblood's signature in him." "That is impossible," the third elder snapped. "So is his existence," Kylara shot back. Rylan watched her shoulders stiffen, her tail coiling protectively, realization hitting him like an elbow to the ribs. She wasn't guarding territory. She was guarding him. One elder leaned closer than Rylan liked. "A human-bearing dragon fire threatens the balance. Your kind is unpredictable. Uncontrolled. What stops him from weaponizing what he has absorbed?" Rylan lifted a brow. "Pretty sure me being half-dead right now is a good start." The elder hissed softly. "Irrelevant." Kylara moved, placing herself directly between them. "If you consider him a threat, you challenge me. He lives because he saved my daughter. The law is unbreakable. The instinct is unshakable." "Matriarch," the first elder growled, "your emotions cloud your judgment." She leaned forward, flames flickering across the scales of her jaw. "This is not emotion. This is fire law. You dare question the brood mother bond." The room crackled with tension. The elders retreated a step, not much, but enough to show caution. Rylan tried to sit up straighter. The act sent pain through him, but he refused to be overshadowed. "Look," he said, "I didn't ask for dragon fire in my veins. I didn't ask to be dragged into some ancient instinct. I just didn't want a kid to die. If you want to judge someone for that, judge humanity as a whole." The elders exchanged looks. Kylara turned slightly, regarding him in a way that felt deeper. "You speak truth," she murmured. "And dragons value truth." The first elder exhaled heavily. "He must be examined. Studied." Rylan stiffened. Kylara stepped forward instantly, tail whipping the ground with a crack. "No. He is under my guardianship. My claim stands. You will not take him." "He carries unstable fire," the elder warned. "If he loses control." "I will control it," she snapped. "He is mine to protect until the binding completes." The elders clearly hated that answer but had no legal grounds to oppose her. Fire law outweighed political desire. Reluctantly, they bowed their heads. "Very well. But the council will summon him. He must prove he is not a danger." Kylara's tone dropped to a low, resonant growl. "He will not face trial alone." The elders withdrew, muttering about unprecedented risks and unpredictable humans. As the doors shut, the chamber quieted. Rylan exhaled slowly. "I'm starting to think dragons aren't big fans of surprises." Kylara returned to his side, lowering herself until her gaze was level with his. "They fear what they cannot understand. And they do not understand you." He blinked. "Do you?" "No," she said honestly. "But instinct tells me to stay beside you until I do." She touched 2 fingers to his sternum, not as a claim, but as confirmation. Heat traveled through that single point of contact, stabilizing the flickering fire inside him. When you face the Council's trials, she told him softly, you will not stand as a human alone. You will stand as the one who saved my child. And I will stand as the one who refuses to let anyone take that from me. Ryland swallowed hard. He'd walked into a battlefield and saved a child. Now he was walking into a political storm with a dragon matriarch at his side. And somehow, that felt even more dangerous. The council chamber loomed like a mountain forged from molten stone, its walls glowing faintly with embedded fire crystals. Ryland's every step echoed, a human heartbeat against the ancient rhythm of dragon authority. Kylara walked beside him, her presence radiating heat, power, and warning all at once. Every dragon in the chamber shifted instinctively, sensing her claim, sensing the unusual human she had chosen to protect. The council elders regarded him like a specimen, not a soldier. Their eyes glimmered with disbelief and fear. A human who survived the Fire 12, carrying dragon energy in his veins, was unprecedented. They whispered among themselves, their voices vibrating with ancient authority and unease. Human, the eldest began, his tone equal parts curiosity and accusation, explain your survival. Ryland blinked. I don't know. I just survived. A subtle growl emanated from Kylara. She stepped closer, scales shimmering with authority. He carries my daughter's fire. His survival is bound to mine. He is under my protection. The second elder leaned in, eyes narrowing. A human bearing dragon fire is an anomaly. A threat. How do we know he will not destabilize the balance? Ryland straightened despite the pain lancing through his chest. Pretty sure me being half dead right now is a good start, he said. His voice was calm, steady, human stubbornness radiating through the room. The council hissed in disbelief. Kylara's tail lashed subtly, warning them against pressing further. She had positioned herself so no elder could approach him without passing her first. You may study him, you may observe, but you will not harm him. He is claimed. The elders deliberated quickly. The first proposed trials, 3 challenges to test human endurance, willpower, and intent. Kylara's claws tightened around the edge of the stone platform as the decree was read aloud. You will prove you are not a danger. Or you will be removed. Ryland's lips curled into a grim smile. Bring it on. The first trial was endurance. The chamber's heat intensified to levels designed to test even a Fireblood Matriarch. Flames licked the walls. The air shimmered with energy. Most humans would collapse instantly. Ryland's body burned, lungs screamed, skin blistered, but he stood. He endured. His muscles ached, every nerve on fire, but he refused to bend. The council murmured. Dragons rarely witnessed human stubbornness withstand what should have been fatal heat. The second trial tested resolve. A psychic illusion forced him to relive failure, fear, and despair. The voices of the elders, the screams of imagined victims, pressed against his mind like crushing weight. Many dragons might have crumbled under such pressure. But Ryland held firm. He drew on something the illusions could not mimic, human defiance. I act. I don't calculate. I survive, he whispered. A small spark of fire flickered in his chest, not dragon fire, but human resolve made tangible. The third trial demanded truth. He was asked why he risked himself for a hatchling. Ryland's answer was simple, because it was a kid. That's all. Humans don't decide who deserves saving. We just save them. The elders fell silent. That was alien logic to dragons. They weighed value, lineage, strength. Humans acted on instinct, on morality, on defiance. That alone unsettled them. Kylara watched him closely. Her instincts, intertwined with the hatchling's fire, recognized something rare. Respect. Honesty. Courage that did not seek reward. She had seen fire and blade, instinct and law, but nothing like this. Her claws flexed subtly, ready to strike if anyone dared challenge him. A minor skirmish broke out among the council. Some argued for his execution, others for containment. One voice, trembling, proposed studying him as a new weapon. Kylara's growl silenced the chamber instantly. He is under my protection. Cross him and you challenge me. The humans and dragons in the room both felt the weight of her words. Ryland's presence alone should have terrified the elders. Kylara's stance made it clear no one would act against him without consequences far worse than protocol. Ryland exhaled slowly. I didn't do this to be protected, he said, voice even. I did it because no one else would. That's humans. We survive, we act, and sometimes, we save. One elder's gaze softened, grudgingly impressed. Another still glared, suspicious, but no action came. Kylara's protective aura dominated the chamber. Finally, the council spoke as one. He would live, but he must complete the final rite. He would return with Kylara to the Fireblood Den, acknowledged as bound to her by law and instinct. The decree left no ambiguity. Defiance alone had earned him survival. Kylara's gaze shifted to him, intense but measured. The trials end, but the bond remains. You walk out of this chamber not just as a human, but as the one who saved my child. Ryland flexed his shoulders, every nerve still tingling from the ordeal. Guess I'm a legend now, he muttered dryly, though a faint grin tugged at his lips. Kylara's eyes softened just enough for him to notice. Legends are fragile, she said. But your actions, human or otherwise, have earned my respect. And my vigilance. Ryland looked around, taking in the scale of the chamber, the weight of ancient law, and the raw power of the creatures surrounding him. Despite exhaustion, he felt alive. He had stood against impossible odds, faced alien judgment, and survived through sheer human stubbornness. He realized, for the first time, that the Council had not only tested him, they had underestimated him. Humanity had survived because he refused to die, refused to compromise instinct, refused to obey rules that were never meant for his kind. Kylara stepped closer, her warmth pressing against him subtly. Tomorrow, she said, we return to the den. You will face the final stage of the bond. But you are not alone. I will not allow you to be harmed. Ryland's pulse quickened, not from fear, but anticipation. Not alone, he repeated quietly, almost to himself. He understood the weight of her words, the implicit promise of protection, the recognition of human courage in a world designed to ignore it. The Council may have ruled, the trials may have ended, but the real challenge lay ahead, surviving Kylara's world, the bond, and whatever came next. He flexed his hands, feeling strength he hadn't known existed. For a human who survived 12 plasma blasts and defied dragon law, the impossible had become the expected. And for the first time, he felt the quiet thrill of walking into a storm he had already survived once and would survive again. Kylara's eyes met his, unwavering. Ready yourself, she said. The den awaits. Your place by my side is not requested. It is claimed. Ryland nodded. Then let's see what humans can do when dragons finally notice us. The flames of the chamber reflected in his eyes, but the stubborn light within, human light, burned brighter. The Fireblood Den glowed like molten gold, carved into a cavern high above the treaty lands. Ryland stepped in, every nerve alert, his body still humming with fire energy. Kylara walked beside him, her presence as commanding as ever, a living reminder that he was no ordinary human. Every step carried weight, of instinct, of law, and of consequences he still barely understood. This is where your bond completes, she said, voice low, controlled, yet unmistakably fierce. Here, proximity solidifies the connection. You will not be separated until it is recognized as permanent. Ryland exhaled, the heat washing over him like a living pulse. He had faced plasma blasts, council trials, and psychic pressures. Yet nothing felt as daunting as standing in a dragon's den, knowing his life, and his choices, were entwined with hers. Kylara's gaze swept over him, reading his posture, measuring his reactions. You understand, she said, that the hatchling you saved was my daughter. Your actions activated instinct. My proximity is required to stabilize the fire within you. The law does not negotiate, and neither does instinct. I get it, Rylan replied, rubbing his shoulder. I saved a kid. Now I'm bonded. Seems fair enough. He forced a grin, but the weight of the moment pressed against his chest. Humans didn't usually have to answer to creatures whose lifespans spanned centuries, whose instincts were wired into their very flames. Yet here he was, alive, standing. Kylara stepped closer, the warmth radiating from her so intense it seeped into his bones. You have a choice, she said, almost casually. Leave tomorrow. The bond will break, and consequences will follow. Or stay, accept it fully, and learn what it means to walk alongside me. Rylan considered it. Every human instinct urged him to fight, to resist, to maintain independence. But Kylara's presence was not coercion, it was recognition. She offered protection, trust, and acknowledgement of human defiance in a world that rarely gave it space. What happens if I stay? He asked, voice steady despite the heat coursing through his veins. You live under my protection, she said simply. And I under yours. We are intertwined. Your survival, your choices, your life, bound to mine. The hatchling is safe, the den secured, and your existence acknowledged by Fireblood law. Rylan exhaled slowly, the enormity of it settling. He had jumped into 12 plasma blasts without hesitation, saved a child without thinking, and defied an ancient council. Humans were reckless, yes, but they endured, adapted, survived. Every scar, every instinctive leap had led him to this moment. I'll stay, he said finally, the words heavy with meaning. Not because I have to, but because I want to. Because no human backs down when they know they can make a difference. Kylara studied him, her eyes narrowing slightly, amber flames flickering across her scales. Then, for the first time, a subtle shift in her posture hinted at approval. Then you accept the bond. Not for ritual, not for law, but for choice. That makes your actions human in a way few dragons understand. The heat between them intensified, not threatening, not predatory, but alive, primal, protective. Her claws flexed lightly, her tail coiled, a physical manifestation of vigilance. Rylan understood instinctually that this was her way of saying she would fight anyone who dared challenge him. You saved my daughter, Kylara said softly, almost a whisper, yet it carried through the cavern. Let me save your future. Rylan's lips twitched into a small, wry smile. Guess we're even, then. Humans save, dragons protect. Sounds like a fair deal. Her eyes glimmered with amusement, though the rest of her body remained tense, coiled like molten steel. Fairness is a human concept. Survival is not. But you understand both. Rylan flexed his hands, feeling the lingering fire in his veins. Every nerve, every scar, every ounce of endurance had led him here. Dragons feared humans because they acted on instinct, defied laws, survived impossibilities. Kylara's presence was proof that humans could walk beside legends, endure what others could not, and claim respect in worlds not designed for them. He took a step closer. So, what now? Kylara's gaze softened fractionally. Now, you learn. You adapt. You survive. And you remain by my side until the bond is complete. Nothing will challenge you successfully while I stand between you and the world. Rylan exhaled, letting the heat of her presence settle over him like armor. Humans were rarely given this choice, rarely acknowledged, rarely protected. He had survived 12 blasts for a child. He had faced an ancient council, endured trials designed to crush spirit and flesh alike. And now, he was being offered a chance not only to live but to belong. I'm ready, he said simply. Let's see how far humans can go when dragons finally notice us. Kylara inclined her head, the faintest flicker of respect in her amber eyes. Then let the bond solidify. And know this, human, the world will watch, but you will not face it alone. Not while I draw breath. The fire in the cavern pulsed around them, alive, responsive, acknowledging the rare alliance forming. Two beings, from different worlds, joined by instinct, choice, and survival. Rylan understood fully that humans survived where others failed, not because of rules, not because of strength alone, but because of sheer, relentless will. He glanced at Kylara, letting the warmth and presence wash over him. She was fierce, she was unyielding, she was dangerous, but she was now bound to him as much as he was to her. For the first time since the 12 blasts, he smiled freely. Humans acted when others hesitated. Humans endured when others broke. Humans survived the impossible. And now, standing beside a Fireblood Matriarch, he knew the impossible was only the beginning. Kylara's claws flexed lightly against the stone floor, tail coiled protectively, and she spoke again, low, firm, irrevocable. You saved my child. Now, you will survive beside me. And together, we will face whatever comes next. Rylan nodded. Then let's face it. Together. The cavern pulsed, alive with fire, instinct, and the undeniable presence of two species bound by choice, action, and the relentless will to survive. Humans had acted. Dragons had noticed. And nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same.